Hello, class. This is Professor Wilcox, and with me, as always, is Professor McClellan.
McClellan, yes.
Yes, yes. The babies are asleep. On my end, there's no babies, but there is, dinner to make. So, we're all busy here, but we want to take a little bit of time and talk to you about the core concepts exam and Unit 4, and a few other issues that are kind of business oriented. And then we'll also, along the same lines, we'll be taking questions in Piazza, so please ask us about those. Now, one question that I just want to answer a couple right up front. One thing that we get all the time is people asking us about the onboarding quiz. The onboarding quiz is not a real quiz. I wish they would call it something else. It sets up your profile so that their computer algorithm recognizes your face and can tell if your face is not what it's looking at. So that is not a quiz. You will not receive a grade for that. It's just about setting up your account. And half the time when people go through, it just gives them a blank screen at the end. So they do it over and over again. So that's just the way ProctorTrack works. Don't get freaked out about that. The other question we've been getting a lot of is, can we use blank pieces of paper? You absolutely can. Just before the exam, just hold it up and turn it over. And as far as I'm concerned, that's due diligence, but do not do a web search during your exam. I hear baby coughing.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good, actually.
No, that doesn't sound too good.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
So, while Professor McClellan deals with baby coughing, I'm going to talk about a few other things that I've been getting questions about. One is when we'll be grading the creative projects. And we are working through them, but there are a lot of creative projects. So just give us time, have patience, and some unfortunate things have come up during our grading of creative projects, which have made things more complicated. Just a reminder to do your own work in Music 133. Don't hire someone to do it for you. So I was just telling them that creative projects are taking a little longer because some unfortunate things have come up, and people should do their own work and not pay someone to do it for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but it's come up, and so. But that's, I'm sure none of our faithful viewers are in that situation. In fact, I'm pretty positive. But anyway, let's move on from that ugliness. What we have seen about the creative projects we've graded thus far, we've really enjoyed. In fact, I've been noticing the quality is quite good this year. And remember, we're not so concerned with the kind of music you make. It's just you're getting in there and trying. That's what we want to see. So, do you want to start with Unit 4, or let's go for the core concept exam, because I think that's probably what people are the most concerned about. I do want to say a few more things about ProctorTrack. If someone is in the room with you, leaning over your shoulder, giving you the answers, that's bad. But if someone walks through the room and picks up their book on a shelf and walks back out, we don't care if people walk in and out of your room. We understand a lot of people have roommates or parents. That's fine. Don't worry about that. It's not going to result in your failure. The only thing we don't want to see is someone leaning over their shoulder giving you the answers, or you doing a web search to websites about the course. There's not. I mean, when we see that, there's nothing much we can do. We have to follow up on that. So other than that, you're fine. And if you're still wanting to practice for the exam, you don't need to redo homework. Use the practice exam. It's exactly like the real exam. In fact, as we go through the exam tonight, I think we should probably just go through the practice exam, concentrating most in particular on the end of the exam, which is the harmonic function part. Is there anything you want to say about the core concepts exam before we dig in, or some of these other issues that I've brought up?
I would just echo what you said, that it's, we're not concerned with things that happen that can't be prevented while you're taking it, but cheating is clear and obvious, and if you try it, we will see it. So just don't go there.
Yeah, it's just really, it doesn't make us feel kind of crappy, because there's nothing we can really do about it when it happens. We have no alternative. We can't not do something about it. That's not the way our contracts work. That's not the way our conscience works. It's something we have to follow up on. So, you know, do your own work. Don't look at the internet where you're taking your exam. If you need a piece of paper, that's fine. We don't care about that. And if you know if the odd disruption happens, don't get concerned. We're not going to ding you on that at all. So,
yep.
Should we dig in on core concept exam?
Yep. If you want, I can share my screen. I already have it up.
Awesome. Yes, please do that.
So this is the practice exam, and as you can see, it covers or pulls material from the following homeworks: 5, 7, page 1, 10, 12, and 20, pages 2 and 3 only. So out of all the homeworks, it's actually a fairly small proportion, and as it's aptly titled core concepts, these are some of the things that are really core to understanding everything else in the course. And that's why we focus there. Read these rules carefully. I won't go over all of them right now, but let's just go through some of the topics. Pitch identification. This is like being able to read the alphabet in a language. If you were learning Russian, you would learn the Cyrillic alphabet, and you need to know what the letters are and what they mean. That's essentially what this is. And again, if you've been doing the homeworks, you've been doing this for almost every task other than Unit 2. So you should be at least able to do it by now, even if you're not fast at it, and that's okay. We have calibrated this so that even if you're working a little bit more slowly and methodically, you will have time to do well on this. And it's worth taking the time to be careful and methodical and just, you know, use whatever method you want. So here's a couple of examples. The treble clef is a big letter G. Second line from the bottom is the note G. And then if you know the alphabet, you just count downward. So G, F, E, D, C, B, and then there's a B flat. So you put B flat. Let me remind myself of the formatting. Yeah, so follow the formatting carefully. And then read the clef. That's the other crucial thing here. So for this one, don't ignore the fact that you're in bass clef. If you were, you'd put this as E sharp, but you're not. So maybe count up from the F. This is a big letter F. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, sharp. So just, it's worth doing that whole process. Well, not sharped, sorry. And if you're careful, you will be fine. This one, this task has tripped up some people. I just want to note two things about it. First of all, these numbers on the keyboard are meaningless except as a reference. Really, all this is that the keyboard is being counted from left to right, 1 to 88. And these are reference numbers, so you don't have to start at the left side every single time to get to 76. You can start, or from 78, you can start from here and go 77, 78. And so the real task here is, what is this pitch? And what I noticed, a couple of people wrote to me and they were getting it right, except for this funny little symbol 8VA here. They were identifying this pitch. So for example, this is middle C. This is an F flat. And what they were doing was they'd go, middle C is here, this line. The next C up is this second from top to space. So they'd go to this C, that would be 52. They'd go up 1, 2, 3, sorry, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. That's F flat. And they'd say 56. What they forgot is that it actually jumps up one more octave. So from there, they can go 56. It's this note, F flat, also known as E. And you jump up an octave, and that is actually 68. So do not ignore those little symbols. And there's also the ones for an octave lower. So as long as you're doing that, you should be safe. And I think maybe moving quickly on is warranted. Any comments to add?
No comments, but we are getting questions.
Okay.
We have a student who wants to be able to, essentially wants to know if it's okay to brain dump on her scrap paper when it comes time for the exam. And as I said, you know, we're welcome scrap paper, just hold it up to show it's blank. And then like any other exam, if you want to quickly scroll down the things you do to help you remember time signatures, or the things you do to help you remember key signatures, or a circle of fifths, if you can memorize that. Whatever you want to do, that's your time to take the exam as you see fit. So please feel free to do that. And when we get to circle of fifths, we do have a student who wants to know if there's some good ways to help them remember that, because it's what they use to do the harmonic functions, and they're concerned about their ability to do that. So when we get there, when we get to harmonic functions, let's hit that too.
That sounds good. I just want to add about the brain dump. Yes, absolutely, I agree. Just do it after Proctor track time is ticking, because that's the time that matters. As long as the sheet is blank at time equals 0, you can then spend part of the exam time writing down anything you want. As long as it's in your brain and it gets dumped, that's fine. It just can't be somewhere else and then added to your brain as you go along. So page 2, this is the rhythm area. And again, it's kind of like the nuts and bolts of rhythm, being able to read the note values and work with them a bit. So knowing not only what this is, it's a dotted half note, but how it functions if it's working as a beat, and how it would divide as a beat. So that for that, you have to know about the meters, you have to know about time signatures. So there's multiple levels of knowledge that go into this, but as long as you sort of work your way methodically through and remember, you know, in certain time signatures, the beat is a dotted value, and in that case it divides it. The dot is half the value added to the beat to that value. So this is 1.5 half notes, and 1.5 divides into 3 halves, and so the answer would be 3 quarter notes. And so just going through really carefully with that approach. And then there's some a mixture of different kinds of questions about the different meters, the 2 basic types of meters, simple and compound, and then within those types, the different numerical values for the number of beats in a measure: duple, 2 beats; triple, 3 beats; quadruple, 4 beats. It won't get too much more complicated than that, but time signatures and meter it's a little bit tricky territory, so you have to be solid on it. If you can do this page, you can do the exam, because again, this is basically drawn from the same bank of questions as the real exam. Now, knowing your time signatures, and the tricky part there is the compound meters. And so just since we have this one up, remember that if it's a 6, 9, or 12 on the top, it's probably a compound meter, which means that you divide it by 3 to get the number of beats. So the answer there would be 3 beats. Not so with 3/8, which is actually a simple meter. Actually, I'm glad these popped up, because that's probably 2 of the most confusing aspects. This is also 3 beats of 1/8 note each. This is 3 beats of a dotted quarter each, for each beat, and so on. So there's a lot of questions, but if you're versed in this stuff, you can do them all. Just seeing if there's anything else to mention here. Which meter has 4 beats? Yeah, so again, being able to put the information together in different ways and from different angles. And I think that's it for page 2. Any other comments there?
No other comments. I think the important thing to remember is, again, obviously the difference between simple and compound, especially in the time signatures. The 6, 9 in 12 is just a giveaway right away that you're going to look at compound. And when you're talking about compound, you know, in terms of the beat, you're going to talk about a dotted note. So always keep that in mind. If you see a dot on the note we're asking you to divide, it's going to be compound. If it's got a 6, a 9, or 12, it's going to be compound. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's simple, or you know, they call them simple because they're easier, right? They say what they are, and they divide evenly, and that's great. But the compound ones are the ones that give people trouble. So you just want to watch out for those dotted notes and for 6s, 9s, and 12s. And if you do that, you should be in good shape.
Absolutely. Last but not least is page 3. And this is where we get into the questions of harmony and scales and stuff like that. So you need to know the scales from Unit 3 and the different note roles and names within the scale, especially the harmonic function names. So if you know the scale degrees and you memorize them with these names, you know, 1 equals tonic, 2 equals supertonic, 3 equals mediant, then you can start to identify the notes within these roles. So again, kind of like page 2 of this exam, this is asking you to draw together a few different levels of knowledge to do this task. And so in this example, you need to, first of all, you're given information that this is a major key signature. And you might wonder, why am I being told it's major? Well, remember that each key signature can indicate a major key and also its relative minor key, which has a different tonic note. So it's we have to give you that information because you have no other way to know that. If it were a complete piece, you could know it by context and some other things. But so we tell you major key signature, 2 flats is B flat major. And then what is the harmonic function of the given note? So if this were me, I would say, well, what scale degree is it within the scale? And I would count either up or down. Up, I'd go from B flat down here, B, C, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, A. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So scale degree 7. Or I'd count down from B flat, 1 or 8, scale degree 1 or 8, down 1 to 7. And then I remember, oh, 7 is either the subtonic if I were in minor, or the leading tone if I were in harmonic minor or melodic minor or major. And therefore, this is the leading tone. So there's a number of steps, but you can do them.
Should we just go over key signatures again really quick? Just the tricks for getting the major key signatures and finding the minor. Just because I feel like that's the key. Because if you don't get that's the key. If you don't get the key signature down, if you don't identify the key properly, then it doesn't matter whether you count right or not. You're going to get the answer wrong. So, I mean that's.
Yeah. So, and this is where if you can brain dump your circle of fifths onto the page and have it in front of you, that can really help you. But just the quick tricks that I think we've mentioned before to keep in mind are with flat key signatures, the second to last flat counting from the right is the tonic. So this one only has 2. The first flat from the right is E flat. The second is B flat. Let's find another flat key. This one, the furthest to the right is C flat. The one just to the left, second in, is G flat, and that is the tonic. So this is G flat major. And that works for all the flat keys except F, which only has 1 flat, and it's F. And you should probably just memorize that. This one is the second, first to the right is D flat, second in is A flat, so it's A flat major. The sharp keys, the final sharp on the right is the leading tone of the key. So you go up 1 semitone to get to the tonic. And in this case, that would make this C sharp major, which is not a key you see every day, but this is a B sharp go up a semitone, C sharp. Let me find another sharp key. This is E sharp, go up a semitone to F sharp major. Let me find an easier one.
Hey, Robin, how do you know that that last one was an F sharp major and not an F major?
Oh, great question. Make sure you are solid on navigating the whole business around E sharp and F flat and C sharp and B sharp and C flat. Those white keys where you have to be clear on which ones are sharps and flats of each other. So, for example, E sharp on the piano is, on the piano keyboard is the same key as F natural, but it's E sharp in this case. So going up one semitone from that white key gets you to F sharp. So it's E sharp to F sharp. I don't know if that explains it very well, but
I was also implying that they should make sure to check the note in the key signature, because F is already sharped in the key signature. So if you go from if you go from E sharp or any sort of E up and you check it against the key signature, you realize that any F in the key is going to be sharp.
That's a great point, yeah. And then here's a more mundane example. C sharp is the rightmost sharp, and you go up one semitone and it's D natural. So yeah, even if you don't remember anything else, just read the notes that are given and go up a semitone here. There's no D sharp, so it's a D natural, and that's except as I'm speaking, I realize it says minor, so we're not actually in D major. This requires one more step. For me, it's easiest to still use the major key trick that we were just talking about. So C sharp up to D would be the major key, and then to know your relative major and minors really well, which is definitely an area that people, I've noticed, is tricky for people. So you're not solid on that, study up and get as solid as you can, because it's really crucial here. The relative minor from D major is 6 steps up or 3 steps down. So I like to do the 3 steps down. So D, C sharp, B is the minor tonic for this key signature. Let's do a couple more minors now that we've gone over that. Here we use the flat key trick for the major key. So this would be A flat major. But if we go 6 steps up, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, that would be our minor key, or 3 steps down gets us to the same place, A flat, G, F. So this is
Robin, can I jump in for 1 second?
Please.
When you when Robin says 3 steps down from that A flat, you want to think of A flat as the first step. So A flat's 1, G's 2, F is 3.
Yeah,
so 6 steps up, 3 steps down. Really, you want to think to yourself, A flat, remember, we're essentially talking about scale degrees. In scale degrees, there's no 0. A flat would be 1, B flat would be 2, C would be 3. So A flat, G, F would be three steps or 3 scale degrees. So I know it's a tiny bit confusing, so don't let that throw you off.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a whenever you're dealing with scale steps, it's a non-zero counting system. And there you go.
We should probably deal with the one we were on, though. Before I interrupted, I don't think we ever resolved that. We had the E natural in F minor. So what would that be?
Oh yeah, right. So tricky. So the natural is not in the key signature. Think about imagine for yourself the scale, or use your scratch paper to draw from your brain the complete F minor scale. Start with the natural minor. That would not have the natural. Sorry. See, this is where music theory is terrible. The natural minor would not have the natural sign. And you'd have F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F. And E flat would be the 7th scale degree, and it would be the subtonic. And then if you raise it by a semitone to E natural, you would convert that subtonic into a leading tone. And therefore, so this is probably one of the biggest things, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, that trips people up, is that the seventh scale degree comes in two flavors in minor, subtonic or leading tone. And we see it often that people miss that distinction. So be absolutely sure that you are remembering, if you get to seventh scale degree 7, there's one more step. Which kind is it? And just double check that.
Yeah, in general, when you're doing the minor ones, just keep your eye out for an accidental. Because if there's an accidental, there's only two options. Either it's the raised 6, which doesn't change the name, they're both submedian, or it's the raised 7th, which changes the subtonic to a leading tone. And you know, in minor, it's never the leading tone unless it's been altered. And similarly, when you write your creative projects and we ask you to put a leading tone and you don't alter the 7th scale degree, you're giving us a subtonic. We see that a lot. You know, it's in some ways it's more common in a lot of contemporary music to have the subtonic than the leading tone. And I think that's why some people don't catch that one. But pay attention. Unless there's an accidental, it's going to be the subtonic.
Yep. So do you mind talking for a second while I go check on the baby?
No, that's fine. So while Robin goes checks on his coughing child, well, I'm gonna take over for a few minutes. And we've kind of hit most of the items that we're going to to talk about in the core concepts exam, but I don't want people to feel like, you know, we're running off before we fully explain something. So what I'd like those of you who are watching to do is take a minute and drop us a line on Piazza. Tell us what you'd like us to talk about, what you're not understanding, what you're having trouble with, whether it's the core concept exam or something in Unit 4.
I'm back.
We'll be happy to talk about those items. So I've asked them to drop us a note on Piazza and tell us what they'd like us to talk about next, or if they have something they want us to go back over again. And let's let them kind of direct where we take the next bit of time here.
That sounds
good.
So
let's check Piazza.
Yeah.
I do see, I did get a question about ProctorTrack crashing in the middle of someone's exam. If ProctorTrack crashes in the exam, most of the time when I see people having this problem, they're actually able to go ahead and finish the exam. And so just don't worry about it. If ProctorTrack crashes, we're not going to hold you responsible for that. That's not the end of the world. If you're happy with your score and it didn't disrupt your exam experience, you're good to go.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and a general point about ProctorTrack, if something goes wrong with ProctorTrack is its own beast, and we actually have no control or knowledge of how it works. I mean, we have knowledge of how it works, but we can't help you if things go wrong on a technical level with ProctorTrack. So if that happens to you, your first call should be ProctorTrack help, not us, because all we're going to be able to say is call ProctorTrack help. Because it's a piece of software. It functions a certain way. You know, we have really no direct influence or control over it. But they're very good, actually, from what I've experienced. Like they're quick to respond. They're very helpful. They'll get you back on track right away. So you know, let us know if you have problems, but don't ask us, like, why is there a red blinking thing in the right side of the screen or something? And we'll say, we don't know why. That's ProctorTrack's problem. So we're not passing the buck, but we want you to get the help from the source that actually can help you as quickly as possible.
Okay, so we have a question from Lacey. And Lacey would like us to go over beat divisions when it concerns dotted notes. So beat divisions and compound meters.
Yeah. beat divisions and so should I go back to the exam?
Yeah, or you can pull up the rhythm palette or something like that and do it there.
Let me go back to, oops, okay. Yeah, rhythm palette would be fun, actually. Okay, is that all showing correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Beat divisions when it concerns dotted notes. Yeah, basically, dotted notes divide in 3. That's kind of the single primary message. So let me take a typical dotted note in a typical meter, quarter with a dot. I like how the dot says dot, because if it didn't, it would be very easy to miss. Yeah, so the way to think of this is start with the quarter note. How does that divide up if there were no dot? I'm going to get rid of the dot for a second. And the answer is that it would divide into, oops, my dot is running rogue on me. I'm just going to line up down here the sort of same beat. The quarter note would divide into 2 of these guys, also known as, if these were beamed, they would look like this. So, whoops. So reading vertically, this is how the quarter note divides. You add the dot, and now you need to add 1 more 8th note. I don't know if I'm answering the question exactly that was intended, so stop me if I'm rambling on about things you already know.
No, this is fascinating.
But oh, good, thank you. I feel better. We don't have a beamed version of this, but oh yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm going to just, oh, it doesn't quite line up. Or should it? But yeah, so so this is basically, that's the deal with the dot, is that it adds 1 more of that. You start with the half value and then you add 1 more of it, and that always adds up to 3 of the half. It's 3 halves of the basic value. And yeah, so in a meter, I think the question was beat division. So this is a beat in certain meters known as compound meters, and if you think of this as the primary unit, then you think of this as how it divides up into smaller beat divisions. And when it comes to time signatures, you sort of have to just memorize that certain time signatures divide into this type of beat. So you have 6/8, 9/8, 12/8 are the basic ones. And then, of course, similarly, if you have a dotted value, it's the beat at a smaller level, then the same process happens, but now the basic beat is a dotted 8th. And so the basic, excuse me, so the basic division is now half of a 8th note, and there are 3 of them, 3 halves. Like so. I think that's probably enough, but let us know if
yeah, so hopefully, Lacey, that answered your questions or clarified what you wanted clarified. But again, so we're kind of at the point now where we're happy to talk about more things. If people want to talk about more things, or we're happy to call it a quits for the night. And did you want to talk any bit about Unit 4? Actually, we find that most people have not a lot of trouble with Unit 4. It's fairly straightforward counting, and people find it generally fairly intuitive once they get the hang of counting semitones. So unless there's something else people do, I'm going to keep checking questions, or anything else that Professor McCall wants to talk about.
No, just to very briefly about Unit 4, the trick.
Let's just talk very briefly about Unit 4 and then.
Yeah, I think when it comes to sort of strategy, rather than going into specific homeworks, we were talking about how scale steps, there's no zero when you're counting scale degrees. Like, you know, the tonic to the mediant is 3 steps. Tonic, so whatever the second one is, immediate. My brain is on the fry. Supertonic, sorry. And the but when you're counting intervals, you have to be able to do both. So for example, this interval right here is a second because it goes 1, 2. It's the non-zero system. But when you're counting this, the precise size of it for specific intervals, then you need to use the zero-based system of semitones. Forget if that's in this homework or in a different, it's probably in the next homework. Actually, I don't remember where it is right now, but when you're counting the precise size of an interval, major or minor, perfect, diminished, all that stuff, then you need to count semitones starting from 0. So I won't say more than that for now, but just keep those different strategies in mind in different counting systems. It's a little confusing. I think that's it. Are we getting any other?
We do not seem to be getting any other questions. I'm going to reload one more time, and if not, we're going to push through. But as always, oh wait, maybe we got one. Hold on.
I just responded to Lacey. Maybe that's what you're seeing.
Oh, yep, that was just you. So as always, we are here for questions, and if you want to send us an email, if you want to write us here in the forum, we'll be happy to answer. Always remember, there's a ton of you, so tell us what section you're in, and give us a little bit of time to respond. But we'll get back to you as quickly as we possibly can, and we'll help you in whatever way we can.
Absolutely. And we know you will all do very well in the exam because you've studied hard, you've done the practice exam, you know the material, and you're awesome. And we have total faith in you.
We do. Yeah. We've seen lots and hundreds of people come through, and everybody does great if they stick consistently with the work. So we're just very pleased to be able to talk about music theory with all of our students, and we hope that everyone is having a good time and feeling supported by us. And I guess we're going to call it quits to tonight. So from Stephen and
Robin, aka Dr. McClellan, aka Dr. Wilcox.
Robin, aka Daddy with Coughing Baby. Yeah.
10-month-old.
He's got the cutest kid, by the way. So
he's very cute, I admit.
He is exceptionally cute. He just makes other people want to number one. All right. So from all of us to all of you, have a good evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Good night.
Good night.